The dusty secret in the attic. Rain hammered the attic window panes, each drop a miniature percussionist against the aged glass. Lily hugged herself tighter, the thin cardigan offering scant warmth. What was usually a repository of cast-offs and muted light had morphed, under the tempestuous sky, into a shadowy den of whispering air currents. Drifting dust motes, caught in the meager light filtering through soiled glass, created an illusion of an enchanted, spectral realm. She hadn't planned on venturing up here. Sheer tedium, the bane of storm-laden days, had propelled her. Her siblings were absent, her parents absorbed in their familiar, predictable lives. The house, normally a vibrant chorus, was unnervingly hushed. Lily trailed her fingers across a tarnished silver tea set, the intricate details obscured by grime. A fit of coughing seized her, the dusty air irritating her throat. A place for dying things, she mused, a necropolis of faded aspirations and unkept promises. In the dim recesses, half concealed by a heap of moth-eaten covers, she spied it, a modest, wooden box, utterly unadorned, save for a simple brass fastener. An insistent curiosity, both alluring and perilous, drew her in. She wrestled the box free, the stale odor of decay assaulting her senses. The wood felt coarse, yet smoothed by the passage of time and indifference. The fastener, though locked, offered little resistance. After some focused manipulation with a bobby pin unearthed from her pocket, a faint click echoed. Her heart thrummed against her ribs, a drumbeat of guilt. It felt like intrusion, violating a space meant to remain veiled. Hesitation flickered. Perhaps she should replace it, feign ignorance. But the allure of the unknown proved too potent. She raised the lid. Nestled within, amidst brittle, yellowed paper, lay a notebook. Small, bound in time-worn leather, its pages spotted and delicate with age. The title, inscribed in faded script, sent a sudden chill through her. Lily's expiration date. Her breath hitched. Expiration date? The words felt like a physical blow. Her fingers trembled as she reached for the notebook, her mind reeling through increasingly disturbing possibilities. The opening page listed names, names she knew intimately. Her mother, father, siblings. Beside each, a date, stretching into the future, some imminent, others distant. And next to each date, a monetary amount. Below this catalog, a succinct explanation. The Lily Pool. Place your bets on the date of her passing. Closest guess wins the prize. The words blurred, distorted by disbelief. Passing? They were gambling on her death? Her own family? A wave of nausea crested in her stomach. The attic, already close, seemed to shrink, suffocating her. She flipped through the pages, her eyes darting across dates, names, sums. Each entry was a fresh wound. Her Uncle Mark, with his cheek-pinching habits and stale cigar scent, had wagered on her demise next year. Her sister, Chloe, notorious for borrowing clothes, had selected a date 5 years hence, a meager $20 beside it. Even her mother, the woman who had birthed, nurtured, and supposedly loved her, had placed a bet, small but a bet nonetheless. The downpour intensified, mirroring the inner tempest that raged within her. How could they? Could those meant to cherish and safeguard her treat her life as a sport, a macabre lottery? Tears pricked at her eyes, blurring the ink. She slammed the notebook shut, the sound reverberating in the confined space. The box tumbled from her numb fingers, hitting the floor with a thud. She recoiled, distancing herself from the box, the notebook, the appalling revelation. The air hung dense, oppressive, almost unbreathable. Her family, her devoted, supportive family, had secretly anticipated her end, and they were gambling on it. Lily stumbled back until the rough wall pressed against her spine. The world tilted, swam, threatening to consume her. Eyes squeezed tight, she fought to shut out the images, the words, the devastating perfidy. She had always felt like an outlier, slightly discordant. But never, not in her most dreadful imaginings, had she conceived of herself as so dispensable, so inconsequential in their eyes. Tears streamed down her face, hot, bitter rivulets. She was adrift, uncertain of where to turn, who to trust. The bedrock of her existence, the very foundation of her family, had dissolved beneath her. One certainty remained: nothing would ever be the same. A game of years. The notebook now felt like lead, its wooden cover a frigid brand against her shaking palms. A game of years. The inscription declared in elegant calligraphy, followed by the chilling subtitle, Lily's expiration date. Her insides twisted. She opened it to the initial entry, the ink time-worn but distinct. Aunt Carol. Year 2067. Lily clocks in at 75, probably something dull like her ticker giving out. 200 in the pot. 75? Carol envisioned her lasting that long? A wave of queasiness overtook Lily. It wasn't merely mortality, it was their expectations crushing her. The offhand tone, the clinical assessment, sent a shiver down her spine. 200 measly dollars. Was that the sum total of Carol's estimation of her worth? She advanced to the next page, her fingers fumbling. Grandma Rose, year 2052. An unfortunate mishap, perhaps? She's always been a bit butterfingered, a single bill. She inherited my wonky joints. Butterfingered? Was that her defining trait in Rose's eyes? Not artistic, not compassionate, not Lily? Just clumsy? The barb pricked deeper than anticipated. Rose, who'd showered her with compliments on her drawings, who made her favorite sweets on every birthday. Was it all pretense and a tragic mishap? The phrase lingered, heavy with an unsettling malice. Lily skimmed through the ensuing pages, each notation a new laceration. Uncle Mark foresaw a skiing accident in 2048, blaming her lack of grace, Mrs. Davison, the casserole queen next door, had wagered on 2070, a quiet fade into oblivion after a mundane existence. The mundane existence assessment stung like a slap. Towards the rear, she unearthed her father's contribution, her pulse quickening. His script was familiar, even reassuring, but the content, Dad, year 2088. Robust lineage on both sides. She'll probably outlive us all. 100, just for kicks. Relief washed over her, so intense it bordered on tears. He envisioned a lengthy life for her. He had faith in her. Yet her gaze snagged on the addendum, scribbled underneath in haste. Maybe a stray asteroid? Just kidding. Sort of. 50 more on that. The relief dissipated, leaving a lingering, acrid taste of betrayal. Even her father, her bastion of trust, had indulged in this macabre wager. A stray asteroid? He'd joked about her demise by cosmic impact. Her mother's entry was conspicuously absent, a knot clenched in Lily's chest. Had she declined to participate? Or was her prediction sequestered elsewhere, too horrifying to be part of the regular sequence? The room swam before her eyes. The attic, usually a refuge of dusty charm and forgotten relics, had morphed into an instrument of torment. Each entry was a sliver of glass, twisting further into her core. How could they? How could her kin, those sworn to cherish and safeguard her, treat her life as some dark jest? She snapped the notebook shut, the sound magnified in the sudden quiet. Its weight was unbearable. She needed to escape. She lurched to her feet, toppling a heap of antique photo albums. Images scattered across the floor, birthdays, holidays, family outings. Pictures of grinning faces, shared chuckles, of what she now recognized as a meticulously crafted facade. Her gaze locked onto a snapshot of herself around 8 years old, grinning at the lens, her arms encircling her parents. They appeared so joyous, so caring. But now, seen through the prism of the notebook's revelations, she wondered if even then they were covertly calculating the odds, placing their bets, anticipating her expiration date. Tears welled, blurring the already distorted view. She scrubbed at them angrily. She wouldn't grant them the spectacle of her breakdown. She wouldn't give them that satisfaction. She seized the notebook, clutching it close. She needed answers. She needed to understand why. But beyond that, she needed to plot her next move. Her life, the life she had believed in, had been irrevocably damaged. The rules had been rewritten, and she was no longer playing by their twisted game. Confiding in Sam, the park bench offered scant comfort to Lily. A penetrating dampness lingered despite the sun's efforts, mirroring the frigidity creeping through her since she'd opened the notebook. She saw Sam coming, that familiar, untroubled smile gracing his face, and bile rose in her throat. How could she reveal this malignancy infecting her family, a secret that had already begun to feel like a part of her very being? Sam dropped beside her, his rucksack landing with a muffled thump. "Hey, sorry. Davies was off on one about the political ramifications of..." Trust me, you're better off not knowing. What's wrong? You look like you've seen a specter. He reached for her, his fingertips grazing her forearm. Lily recoiled almost imperceptibly. There's something I need to show you. The tremor in her voice mortified her. She rummaged in her bag, her fingers encountering the notebook's smooth, time-worn cover. It felt like a lead weight. Expelling a shaky breath, she extracted it and offered it to Sam. A puzzled frown etched itself onto his face as he accepted it. A game of years? He leafed through it, his eyes flitting over the initial page. The smile evaporated, replaced by a dawning disquiet. He turned several more pages, then halted abruptly, his features hardening into a mask of disbelief. Lily watched him, her insides twisting. Silence descended, broken only by birdsong and the muffled city sounds. Finally, Sam snapped the book shut, his knuckles bone-white. He fixed Lily with a gaze compounded of incredulity and outrage. What? Lily, what is this? She swallowed, the words a painful obstruction. It's a betting pool. My family. They're taking bets on when I'm going to die. Sam simply stared, rendered momentarily mute. He started to speak, stopped, then tried again. That's beyond comprehension. Are you certain, Lily? His voice trailed off, his eyes darting back to the notebook in his grasp. Certain, she affirmed, her tone devoid of inflection. I saw it with my own eyes. I read it all, the dates, the wagers, the whole sordid thing. She indicated a specific entry, her fingertip hovering just above the paper. See? Aunt Carol's put money on 2028. $100, 5-to-1 odds. Sam retrieved the notebook, his eyes now narrowed slits. He flipped through the pages once more, fury escalating with each fresh discovery. A string of curses, Mandarin interwoven with English, tumbled from his lips. I don't get it, he said, finally lifting his gaze to meet hers. Why would they do such a thing? It's inhuman. Lily simply lifted her shoulders, the gesture feeling cumbersome and unnatural. I don't know. I believed they cared. But this reduces me to some kind of spectacle, a grotesque pastime. Tears threatened, blurring her vision. She fought them back, refusing to succumb to a complete meltdown. Not here, not now. Sam reached for her hand, his clasp firm, reassuring. Hey, he murmured, his voice gentle. Look at me. This is monstrous, Lily, utterly monstrous. But it doesn't define you. It can't diminish who you are. She searched his eyes, seeking solace. And she found it there, in the genuine concern and unwavering support she had always depended upon. What do I do, Sam? She whispered, her voice fracturing. I'm at a complete loss. He squeezed her hand tighter. Okay. First, we breathe. In. Out. Slowly. He drew in a deep lungful of air, demonstrating. Lily imitated him, struggling to subdue her racing pulse. That's it, Sam encouraged. Now, we work out what you want. Confrontation? Exposure? Or do you cut ties and walk away, never looking back? Lily shut her eyes, weighing the options. Confronting them ignited a spark of terror, yet the notion of allowing them to get away with this felt even more repugnant. Walking away offered a form of relief, but it would also signify surrender. I honestly don't know, she confessed. I need to understand their motives, why they would perpetrate something so cruel. Sam inclined his head. Right. Then that becomes our priority. We uncover their reasoning. We start digging. We'll see if we can find any clues, anything that might illuminate this obscenity. He lifted the notebook, his expression filled with resolve. And we start right here. A new plan. They presume to know me, Lily breathed, the notebook a stark divider on the table. Unspoken grievances hung thick in the air, the afternoon sun painting elongated, grotesque figures across the walls. Sam's hand found hers. But they're wrong, Lily. Utterly. Her gaze lifted, eyes glistening with unshed tears, yet harboring a nascent resolve. So I just endure? He gave a decisive shake of his head. Absolutely not. Reclaim your story. Disrupt their expectations. Toss a wrench into their sick little game. She worried her lip, contemplating. Like a shocking makeover? A short laugh escaped Sam, incongruously bright. That's a start, sure. But aim higher. What would truly rattle them? Demonstrate that you're beyond their reach? Silence descended, punctuated only by the fridge's muted thrum. Lost in thought, Lily traced the patterns in her cooling coffee. I don't know, she confessed finally. I feel so boxed in. All right, brainstorming session, Sam declared, snatching a pen and pad. No holds barred. We need something that screams, I refuse to play along. He clicked the pen, poised. Lay it on me. I could just vanish, Lily ventured, her voice tentative. Disappear. Too predictable, Sam countered, writing it down regardless. And frankly, it would confirm their darkest assumptions. We need something more defiant. Maybe. I donate my entire savings to a rival organization from whatever they're backing. Lily suggested, a hint of mischief dancing in her eyes. Now you're getting warmer, Sam replied, scribbling with a grin. But we need a bullseye, something deeply personal. Her gaze swept over her sanctuary, her canvases, her beloved books, the carefully arranged collection of antique porcelain. A slow understanding dawned. What if? Her voice gathered strength. What if I divested it all? Sam looked up, surprised by her proclamation. Divested what? Everything, Lily affirmed, her voice gaining momentum. My art supplies, my library, my wardrobe, my furniture, every last thing. What if I simply emptied my life? Sam leaned back, considering the immensity. That's pretty extreme. Are you certain you're prepared for that? Lily took a steadying breath. The notion, only moments ago unfathomable, now felt like an act of liberation. They're wagering on my demise, Sam, treating my existence as a macabre sport. What do I have to lose? It would certainly pull the rug out from under them, Sam conceded, a slow smile spreading across his face. I'd be expecting, heaven knows what, but not this. Exactly, Lily exclaimed, adrenaline surging. They believe they're entitled to profit from my end. But what if there's nothing left to exploit? What if I strip away everything they think is theirs by right? She rose, her energy palpably transformed. The shadow that had enveloped her only hours before seemed to dissipate, replaced by fierce resolve. Crossing to her bookshelf, she brushed her fingertips along the spines of her cherished novels. I'll begin here, she stated, selecting a dog-eared copy of Wuthering Heights. Maria always wanted to borrow it. Sam regarded her, a mixture of concern and admiration in his expression. You don't have to rush into this, you know. We can proceed gradually. No, Lily countered, shaking her head vehemently. I need this. I need to feel like I'm seizing control, like I'm striking back. She hugged the book to her chest, a faint smile gracing her lips. They seek to pen my conclusion? Fine, I'll author my own genesis. A beginning unburdened by their presumptions, their avarice, their cruelty. The sunset poured through the window, casting Lily in a vibrant glow. She appeared almost luminous, a warrior poised for battle, armed not with weapons of war, but with the power of relinquishment. Stuffed animals and smiles. Dust motes, stirred by a feeble sunbeam slanting through the begrimed attic window, pirouetted in the stale air. Lily choked, pulling her t-shirt up as a makeshift mask. Grocery store boxes, salvaged and scarred, formed a rough circle, their open flaps suggesting gaping maws. This was where it started, her first act. Bartholomew, a bear loved nearly to pieces, his fur threadbare and an eye hanging by a thread, was first. A gift from her grandfather, a man of few words and rare tenderness, yet one who intuitively understood a shy child's need for a fuzzy confidant. Bartholomew nestled into the initial box, cushioned by tissue paper, a silent promise whispered to another, waiting embrace. Next came Reginald, the giraffe with the comically elongated neck, a carnival conquest. Lily recalled the dizzying swirl of the prize wheel, the gaudy lights, the cloying sweetness of spun sugar. Reginald joined Bartholomew, his spotted head emerging from the box like a curious sentinel. Each plush form was a tug, a memory clinging tight, a fragment of her lost innocence. Yet, with each farewell, a subtle buoyancy surfaced, a sense of release unforeseen. Like discarding a snakeskin, no longer required, hours evaporated, leaving the attic floor nearly barren. The boxes, laden with soft creatures, stood as silent guardians at the threshold of her future. Lily wiped her forehead, a smear of dust turning sweat into a muddy streak. Drained, yes, but also strangely invigorated. The following dawn, Sam drove her to the children's hospital. The building presented a vibrant facade, a calculated distraction from the clinical realities within. A sprawling mural of cartoon figures decorated the lobby, the air thrumming with a hushed chorus of anticipation and apprehension. At the reception desk, Lily's voice was a mere thread. "I have a donation of stuffed animals," she murmured, indicating the boxed collection perched on a rolling cart. The receptionist, her face etched with weariness but her smile genuine, brightened. "How incredibly kind! The children will be overjoyed." She dispatched a volunteer, a young man with eager, sparkling eyes who assisted Lily with the unloading. They guided the trolley down a long corridor, the rhythmic squeak of its wheels punctuating the silence. Through open doorways, Lily glimpsed fleeting portraits, small faces, some wan and delicate, others alight with curiosity. They halted at a playroom, a riot of color and textures dedicated to diversion. A cluster of children, some navigating wheelchairs, others tethered to IV drips, congregated around a table absorbed in drawing. The volunteer announced their arrival with a flourish. "Behold!" he declared, his voice ringing with cheerful enthusiasm. "A treasure trove of new companions." Heads turned, eyes widening in undisguised glee. A little girl, her head gleaming smooth, her face pale yet radiating joy, darted forward, reaching for a plush pink unicorn. A boy, sporting a leg, cast carefully selected Bartholomew, embracing him fiercely. A knot formed in Lily's throat as she watched. These faces, illuminated by the simple gift of a new toy, possessed a beauty beyond any masterpiece. The antiseptic atmosphere seemed to dissolve in a wave of warmth and light. A small boy, barely 6, his eyes holding an ancient knowing, looked up at her. He clutched Reginald the giraffe. "Thank you," he rasped, his voice thin. "He's going to help me be strong." Lily's heart overflowed. The understanding struck her, sharp and clear. This wasn't merely about relinquishing possessions, it was an offering of self, a conduit of comfort and happiness. It was about transmuting her sorrow into something beautiful, something purposeful. It was about discovering her own resilience, her own agency, in the act of giving. Stepping out of the hospital, the son's embrace felt warmer, the air tasted cleaner. The future remained uncharted, but one truth resonated. She was no longer defined by her family's manipulative games. Her identity was forged in her own choices, her own acts, and she chose courage. Colors of kindness. The late afternoon sun sliced through the blinds, casting golden bars across the stacked cartons dominating Lily's apartment. These weren't relics of a past to be dissected, these were brimming with potential, a painter's hoard ripe for new life. Releasing them felt liberating. Unlike parting with childhood toys, those anchors to a bygone era, these were tools to sculpt a brighter future. She traced a finger across a palette's cool surface, dried pigment, a constellation of muted hues, cobalt, umber, ochre. Each held a phantom echo of canvases past, landscapes sketched, portraits unfinished, emotions captured then lost to time. A sharp twinge, not quite regret, caught her breath. Could she really relinquish them? Inhaling deeply, she opened another box, revealing a trove of brushes. Sable, bristle, synthetic, an entire arsenal to wield color. Countless hours she'd dedicated to their care, coaxing them back to form. Now they were destined for whoever could use them. Perhaps children indifferent to the nuances between a filbert and a fan. A soft smile played on her lips. Maybe ignorance was the key. She secured the boxes with tape, labeling each in bold letters. Community Center, Art Supplies. The emphatic exclamation felt essential, a small burst of optimism to temper the lingering wistfulness. The community center was a brief walk away, yet the boxes felt heavier than anticipated. Each step was a subtle act of independence, a quiet rebellion against the predictable existence her family had charted for her, a life of subdued conformity, of carefully assembled belongings, of muted shades. She was choosing boldness, connection, and ultimately, generosity. The center pulsed with the vibrant chaos of after-school activities. Laughter bounced from the basketball court, the steady beat of a ball a constant undertone. A woman with kind eyes and an open smile stood watch at the reception desk. Maria, emblazoned on her badge. "Hi," Lily managed, her voice barely audible. "I have a donation." Maria lit up. "Wonderful! What did you bring?" Lily gestured to the precarious stack. "Art supplies, I hoped you could use them." Maria's eyes widened in disbelief. "Art supplies?" Oh, honey, you have no idea. Our program constantly struggles for funds. Art is always first on the chopping block. This is incredible. She hurried to help Lily maneuver the boxes inside. Together, they placed them in a small, sun-drenched room doubling as the art studio. Sparsely equipped, it contained a few battered tables and chairs and a lone cabinet holding mismatched paint jars. "We're just about to start painting class," Maria exclaimed, brimming with enthusiasm. "Let's surprise the kids." As Maria rounded up the children, Lily lingered by the door, seized by sudden shyness. Doubt flickered. What if they disliked her cast-offs? What if they were too used? Her worries dissolved the moment the children flooded into the room, their eyes, bright with anticipation, locked on the boxes. Maria ripped open the first one with a flourish, revealing the vibrant spectrum of paints, brushes, and paper. A collective gasp echoed. "Wow!" A pigtailed girl squealed, grabbing for a tube of crimson. "Can I use the glittery ones?" a mischievous boy asked, eyeing a box of shimmering glue. Instantly, the room transformed into a hive of activity. Children huddled around the tables, eagerly exploring the new materials. Colors danced on paper, brushes swirled across surfaces, and the air crackled with youthful excitement. Lily watched from the threshold, a warmth blossoming in her chest. It wasn't regret that stirred within her, but something closer to pure elation. She noticed a little girl meticulously rendering a sunny sunflower, her brow furrowed in concentration. She observed a boy conjuring a swirling, abstract design, his face glowing with inspiration. She had relinquished her art supplies but gained something infinitely richer in return. The sight of children unlocking the language of kindness, the magic of creation, and the endless horizons of their own imaginations. And in that moment, Lily knew she was finally painting her own future, one radiant stroke at a time, whispers and suspicion, way and patient stroke at a time. The cadence of Lily's life had morphed. No longer did her days begin with sunlight illuminating sketches in her studio. Instead, she sifted through mementos of yesteryear. The afternoons became opportunities for muted benevolence, quiet resistances to the constraints that had long held her captive. Evenings offered a unique, strangely liberating solitude, an expanse she began to populate with her own inner voice. This altered existence soon garnered notice. Aunt Carol, a woman whose beige color palette extended from her wardrobe to her opinions, discovered Lily wrestling a brimming box of silk scarves towards her car. Carol, perched on the porch swing like a stern sentinel, scrutinized her. "Lily dear, what's all this? Are you leaving?" The word lingered, heavy with unvoiced disapproval. Lily hesitated, the box burdensome in her grasp. "Just streamlining, Aunt Carol, clearing some room." "Room for what? Another array of scarves?" Carol's skepticism was palpable. Lily's collection had often been the target of Carol's gentle chiding, a symbol of what she considered Lily's flightiness. "Perhaps," Lily replied, a spark of mischief in her eyes that Carol clearly missed. She shoved the box into the car's back seat, the vibrant silks a shock of color against the car's drab interior. Or perhaps for something entirely new. Carol watched her depart, a crease deepening on her brow. The swing emitted a rhythmic squeak, a soundtrack to her growing misgivings. The following day, it was Grandma Rose. Despite her years, Rose possessed both a keen intellect and an even keener tongue. She found Lily in the kitchen, meticulously emptying the pantry. Jars of rare olives, unused spices procured on impulse, formed a line on the countertop. "What in heaven's name do you think you're doing, Lily?" Rose demanded, her voice raspy with age and impatience. "Just tidying up, Grandma." Lily carefully polished a jar of saffron. Rose leaned on her cane, her sharp gaze unwavering. "Tidying? Looks more like you're gutting the place. Are you selling things? Are you in dire straits?" Lily evaded her stare. "No trouble, Grandma, just simplifying my life." "Simplifying? When did you take to simplifying? You've always been one for extravagance." Rose gestured around the kitchen, encompassing the lavish appliances and the overflowing cupboards. "This entire house is an extravagance." A wave of guilt washed over Lily, a familiar ache. She knew Rose's intentions were good, in her gruff way. Yet, the words stung. She picked up a delicate tin of lavender tea and presented it to her grandmother. "This is for you, Grandma. I know you enjoy it." Rose studied the tin, her expression inscrutable. What am I supposed to do with this? Sip it while you go off, living a simpler life? Lily managed a faint smile. Precisely. That night, Lily placed a note on Rose's bedside table. It was a quote from a beloved book, a passage about freeing oneself from material possessions to find true liberty. It wasn't an overt explanation, but a subtle clue, a hint that things were evolving, that something profound was taking root. She slipped another note inside Carol's treasured teacup. It read simply, "The more you hold, the more you're held." The atmosphere within the house grew thick with unspoken questions. Whispers trailed Lily like an unwanted companion. Inquiries hung heavy, unvoiced yet undeniable. She felt their gazes upon her, scrutinizing her every action, seeking a rationale for her increasingly unorthodox behavior. They sensed something was amiss. She knew she couldn't keep them in the dark indefinitely. But she wasn't yet ready to divulge her truth. She required more time, more space to solidify her own grasp of what she was undertaking, of the person she was becoming. She needed to fortify herself against their critique, their disapproval, their disappointment. So, she persisted in her decluttering, in her giving, in her dismantling of the life they had so meticulously crafted for her. Each action was a silent rebellion, a stride away from their ideals and a step toward her own. And with each passing day, the whispers amplified, the suspicion intensified, and the tension within the house coiled ever tighter, like a loaded spring. The everything must go sale. The signs, hastily painted on discarded cardboard, declared in bold, slightly shaky lettering, "Everything must go, free." Lily taped them to lamp posts and telephone poles, a flutter of nervous energy in her stomach. She'd spent the entire morning hauling the last of her possessions onto the front lawn. The mismatched furniture, the overflowing boxes of books, the stacks of art supplies, it all looked strangely foreign under the harsh afternoon sun. Sam arrived, his brow furrowed with a mixture of concern and amusement. "Free, huh? You're going all in on this decluttering thing." He adjusted the strap of the messenger bag slung across his chest. "Need a hand with anything?" "Just moral support," Lily said, forcing a smile. She gestured towards a wobbly table laden with framed photographs. "Maybe organize these. I don't even recognize half the people in them anymore." Sam chuckled, picking up a picture of a toddler with a gap-toothed grin. "That's definitely you, rocking the bowl cut." He carefully arranged the photos, creating a makeshift timeline of Lily's life, a life she was now dismantling piece by piece. By noon, a small crowd had gathered, drawn by the promise of free stuff and the unusual sight of Lily's overflowing lawn. There was Mrs. Rodriguez from next door, carefully examining a set of chipped china teacups. A young couple, students perhaps, debated the merits of a slightly battered armchair. A group of kids, their eyes wide with excitement, rummaged through a box of old toys. The air buzzed with chatter and the rustle of discarded wrapping paper. Lily, perched on the porch steps, watched the scene unfold, a strange sense of detachment washing over her. These objects, once so important, were now finding new homes, new lives. She saw a young girl clutch a worn teddy bear to her chest, a genuine smile lighting up her face. That alone made it worth it. The cacophony of the yard sale was punctuated by the shrill sound of Aunt Carol's voice. "Lily Mae Hernandez, what in the world is going on here?" Lily braced herself. Aunt Carol and Grandma Rose stood at the edge of the lawn, their faces a mask of bewildered disapproval. Carol clutched her purse tightly, her eyes darting around as if expecting hidden cameras. Rose, leaning heavily on her cane, simply shook her head. "It's a yard sale, Aunt Carol," Lily said, trying to keep her voice even. "Everything is free." "Free? You're giving away all your things? Have you lost your mind?" Carol's voice rose an octave, attracting the attention of several shoppers. Sam stepped forward, placing a hand on Lily's shoulder. "Everything okay here?" He gave Carol a polite but firm look. "Stay out of this, Samuel," Carol snapped, her eyes narrowing. "This is a family matter." "It's fine, Sam," Lily said quietly. "They're just surprised." Rose hobbled closer, her gaze sweeping over the crowd of people picking through Lily's belongings. "This is disrespectful, Lily. All these things, they have sentimental value." "They're just things, Grandma," Lily replied, her voice tinged with a newfound firmness. "Sentimental value doesn't pay the bills. Besides," she added, gesturing to the happy faces around them, "they seem to be bringing people a lot more joy now than they ever did sitting in my room collecting dust." Aunt Carol sputtered, searching for a response. But, but what about your future? What about the life we planned for you? Lily took a deep breath. This was it. The beginning of the unveiling. My future is my own, Aunt Carol, and I'm planning it myself. The air crackled with tension. The chatter of the yard sale seemed to fade into the background as everyone waited for Lily's next words. She looked at her family, their faces etched with confusion and a hint of fear. The fear, she realized, wasn't for her, it was for themselves. They were afraid of losing control. She paused, gathering her courage. Something very important. But just then, a small boy tugged on her sleeve, holding up a brightly colored book. "Excuse me," she said, turning to him with a smile. "Did you want this?" The boy nodded eagerly, his eyes shining. Lily handed him the book. "Enjoy it," she said. The moment was broken. The big reveal would have to wait. But, as Lily watched the boy run off, clutching his new treasure, she knew one thing for sure. She was on the right path. The path to her own future, a future free from expectations and filled with purpose. A future she would build herself, one free giveaway at a time. Truth revealed. The sun blazed down on the makeshift platform, a picnic table reborn as center stage. As Lily mic-checked the microphone, Sam, a comforting anchor, hovered nearby, his hand a breath away from hers. The aftermath of the yard sale surrounded them, a kaleidoscope of cast-offs against the somber revelation about to unfold. A queasy unease churned within her, yet the assembly before her, a mosaic of inquisitive neighbors, perplexed relatives, and steadfast companions, fueled her resolve. This had to be done. Lily cleared her throat, the amplified sound sliced through the air, demanding attention. Aunt Carol shifted impatiently. Grandma Rose gripped her handbag as if warding off a threat, while her parents exchanged furtive, worried looks. Perfect. Let discomfort prick them. Let them absorb the gravity of their actions. "Thank you for being here," Lily began, her voice edged with tremor. She locked eyes with Mrs. Rodriguez, whose gentle gaze offered silent support. Today was more than just purging unwanted items. It was about clearing space for truth, for something authentic. She reached for the well-worn leather notebook on the table, its pages filled with meticulous, incriminating script, guarded secrets she'd long suppressed. A collective intake of breath swept through the onlookers as she opened it, the delicate whisper of paper amplified in the sudden hush. "This," she declared, raising the notebook, "is a chronicle. A chronicle of my family's unusual pastime." Aunt Carol scoffed dismissively. "Lily, stop this nonsense." Ignoring her, Lily's gaze moved across the expectant faces. "For years, my family has operated a betting pool. The object of their wager, my demise." A wave of shock reverberated through the crowd. Even Sam winced, despite his prior knowledge. The atmosphere grew heavy with disbelief and burgeoning horror. Lily randomly opened the notebook. "Allow me to share a few excerpts." She adjusted the microphone once more, her fingers betraying her inner turmoil. "Aunt Carol wagers Lily won't reach 30, citing a delicate constitution. Odds, 5-1. Aunt Carol's face burned scarlet. She started to interject, but Lily forged ahead. Grandma Rose places $50 on a tragic accident befalling Lily before her 25th birthday, claims she has a death wish because of her art. Lily's voice faltered. Grandma Rose's lips thinned into a rigid line of disapproval. She flipped to another page. Uncle Frank bets Lily will succumb to heartbreak before finding genuine love. Asserts she's too sensitive for the harsh realities of life. A ripple of outrage pulsed through the gathering. Lily snapped the notebook shut, the sound resonating like a gunshot in the heavy quiet. She turned directly to her parents, their faces, masks of shame and disbelief. These are mere glimpses. Page after page, year after year. My life reduced to a game of chance. My suffering, a form of amusement. Tears stung her eyes, but she refused to yield. This wasn't about her pain. It was about their callousness. "I realize our family has its eccentricities." Lily pressed on, her voice gaining strength. "But this transcends eccentricity. This is betrayal, a violation of trust, and I will no longer be a player." "Mrs. Rodriguez pushed forward, her face a fierce condemnation. "That's appalling. How could you do that to your own daughter?" Others joined in, voices escalating in anger and disbelief. The murmur became a roar of disapproval, targeted squarely at Lily's family. Even longtime friends of the family averted their gazes, their expressions reflecting profound disappointment. Her father tried to speak, but his words were swallowed by the uproar. Her mother remained frozen, her eyes wide with a deer in the headlights panic. Sam squeezed Lily's hand reassuringly. "You were incredible," he breathed. Lily inhaled deeply, experiencing a liberation she hadn't imagined possible. The crowd's fury crashed against her family, a purifying tide of justice. It wasn't a fairy tale ending, not yet, but it was a genesis. A genesis for healing, for rebuilding, for finally existing unburdened by their macabre game. The truth was unveiled, and now they would confront the consequences. A legacy of love. Grandma Rose, a fragile figure perched precariously on a folding chair amidst the chaotic sprawl of Lily's yard sale, dabbed at her moist eyes with antique lace. "Just a bit of folly, Corita," she whimpered, her voice catching in her throat. "A tradition, really, innocuous." Lily, kneeling before her, clutched the leather-bound notebook. Sunlight danced off the cover's embossed title. Hernandez Family Pool, Lily's Odds. Innocuous? The word felt like a swallowed thorn. Behind Lily, Sam, ever practical, rested a steadying hand on her shoulder, sensing her need to confront the past. "Innocuous, Grandma?" Lily's tone was barely audible, yet resonated with years of suppressed anguish. Did it feel so innocent, tallying up my demise? Speculating on which ailment would claim me first? Rose's eyes, brimming with tears, widened in seeming shock. "We intended no malice, child, merely confronting reality. Life is precarious, Lily." "We were acknowledging its ephemerality." Lily slowly shook her head. "Acknowledging it with wagers? Reducing my existence to a ghastly wager? That's not acknowledgement, Grandma. That's objectifying." A sudden gust rustled through the yard, carrying the sharp tang of freshly mown grass and the hushed whispers of lingering neighbors. The air thrummed with unspoken critique. "I'm not enraged," Lily continued, her voice gaining fortitude. "Perhaps a little, but mostly bereft. I believed you cherished me, Grandma. That you saw me, the person I am, not just a calamity waiting to happen." Tears coursed freely down Grandma Rose's deeply etched face. "My darling Lily, I adore you, more than words can capture. We all do. We're just a family tangled in its own knots." Sam's fingers tightened gently on Lily's shoulder. "Perhaps it's time to unravel those knots," he suggested, his tone even and grounded. "There's considerable money tied up in that pool, isn't there?" A dawning realization flickered in Lily's eyes. Her gaze shifted from Sam to her grandmother, then to the scattering of relatives, their faces a patchwork of shame and defiance. "Suppose," Lily proposed, her voice tentative at first, then rising with conviction. "Suppose we channeled those funds towards something constructive, something to assist others. Something that celebrates life, rather than forecasting death?" The notion hovered, a delicate seed of hope in a landscape of shattered trust. Aunt Maria, renowned for her acerbic wit and shrewd business sense, scoffed derisively. "And what, precisely, do you propose, Lily? Erect a monument to your suffering?" "No," Lily stated firmly. "I envision a community fund. A fund dedicated to empowering disadvantaged children, offering opportunities they'd never dream of, showing them they are valued, that their potential matters." Once articulated, the idea blossomed, gaining momentum. Murmurs rippled through the assembled family. Hesitantly, reluctantly, they began to entertain the possibility. Hours of debate, of impassioned arguments and tearful confessions followed. Finally, a consensus emerged. The sum total of the Hernandez family pool would seed the Lily Hernandez Community Fund, underwriting scholarships, after-school enrichment, and vital resources for underprivileged youth in the area. A legacy born not of morbid curiosity, but of compassion and optimism. Years unfolded. Lily, with Sam as her steadfast partner, devoted herself to nurturing the fund into a thriving success. They orchestrated benefit galas, forged alliances with local enterprises, and poured unwavering energy into the endeavor. One vibrant autumn afternoon, hand clasped in hand, Lily and Sam watched children at play within the newly erected community center. The air vibrated with their joyful sounds as they painted vibrant murals, devoured books, and rehearsed intricate dance routines. The center, a beacon of light and warmth, stood as a testament to the transformative power of forgiveness and healing. A haven where aspirations took root, where potential unfurled, and where every child felt seen and cherished. Grandma Rose, now increasingly frail yet retaining her fierce spirit, sat on a nearby bench, a wistful smile gracing her lips as she observed the scene. Catching Lily's gaze, she offered a subtle nod, a silent acknowledgement of the good that had sprung from such tainted origins. They christened the art studio after you, Sam murmured, gesturing towards a cheerful sign above the entrance. The Lily Hernandez Creative Arts Studio. Lily smiled, a genuine, radiant smile that illuminated her entire being. The recognition was secondary, the impact resonated, transforming a legacy of pain into a legacy of love was everything. As she observed the children, their faces alive with joy and boundless possibility, Lily comprehended her true purpose. She had transcended the macabre game her family devised and carved her own destiny, a path illuminated by empathy, resilience, and an unwavering belief in the boundless capacity of the human heart. The betting pool, once a symbol of familial coldness, had become a wellspring of hope and opportunity for generations yet to come. The odds, it seemed, had at last aligned in her favor.